Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, September the 27th, 2016. Good to have you all here for our first of three shows this week. Kind of a return to normalcy for the show this week. Things back in the usual format here as we go through this week after the TV awards was a big focal point of last week, which we want to start by thanking all those that were involved in the Spotlight TV Awards, which took place last Thursday. It was a tremendous event, one of our biggest so far, and we were very pleased with the way it all went off. So thank you so much to all those, whether you voted or some way, shape, or form involved. Thank you so much for everything that you did. We do appreciate that. All right. Before we get going, and before I get into everything that's going to be going on and all that stuff, let me first remind you all the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS5. That's a hashtag we'll only be using for a few more weeks because that is our 5th anniversary on the air hashtag. In a few weeks, that will no longer be the case. We'll be going into our 6th full year on the air. So when that happens, we will no longer have a use for that hashtag. So, but anyway, you can still use that hashtag now. So please do that if necessary. You can also create your own hashtag as long as you're not disrespectful or offensive. You can use hashtag, like if you're talking about football, hashtag ITS football. If you're talking about baseball, hashtag ITS baseball. Wrestling, hashtag ITS wrestling. Whatever you want to do, that is fine. Just please do not be disrespectful or insulting when using any hashtag. That's all we ask. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure you like our page upon finding it. Okay, so tonight we have, it's pretty much your usual standard sports show on a Tuesday, sports and wrestling show on a Tuesday. We'll talk about the latest sports happenings. Everything obviously outside of football. Football we save for later in the week. Cover it all together. So we'll cover baseball, the baseball playoffs. Some people have asked me about golf. Whether we're going to cover golf. We will do a little bit of golf tonight because there's obviously some sad news revolving around golf. We will talk about that here tonight. I'm not going to do much with the Players Championship thing, but I'll briefly mention it. On the wrestling side of things tonight, we'll talk about last night's WWE Raw. We'll talk about WWE Clash of the Champions. We'll do all that tonight, the fall of it. And also we'll talk about what could be a major coup by WWE. If there's been rumors for a few weeks now that WWE was involved in discussions to purchase TNA. Nobody really took it seriously, because for obvious reasons. But now there is reason to believe that this could actually happen. In fact, right now, and some sources are even saying it's the most viable option at this point. So there's rumors that WWE could end up purchasing TNA, which would be something, be huge, obviously, something that nobody would have seen coming. We'll talk about that tonight here on the show as well. So that will basically be our show here tonight. So sports, wrestling, the usual deal here on this Tuesday night. And then Thursday, as is usually the case, Entertainment Thursday, Box Office Beat. Our fall TV report will continue. We have lots to talk about from last week. We couldn't really do much of it last week other than what we started on Tuesday. We'll talk about all the returning favorites, all the new shows, talk about how they're all doing, all that good stuff. Film picks of the week, and some entertainment news, all that coming up on Thursday. And, of course, Friday will be the In the Spotlight Football Blitz. Right now, the time is set for 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time this Friday. And, of course, that show will cover college football and the NFL, look back at last week and look ahead to this week in both regards. That, of course, again, In the Spotlight Football Blitz coming up on Friday. So, and again, that time right now, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So keep that in mind for right now. If there's any changes, I'll obviously let you know on Thursday. So that is the schedule for this week. A lot of people have been asking me about October. Oh, you mentioned that you might be moving, going back to this being an audio podcast. That is still in the works. It will happen in October. If anything, more midway through or towards the end of October. No firm date on it yet. We'll let you know when more becomes available on that. But right now, I do not. It's nothing imminent yet. So don't worry too much about it right now at this particular juncture. So there's that. My co-host is now on the air here. Mike, you're in the spotlight.
I don't know how long you were talking for. I got on late.
No, not.
But I'm assuming it's a long time.
No, not really.
Ooh, I can hear me talking on the other side. Nice.
Okay, so, all right. So let's, again, and this at the risk of repeating myself, we've said this so many times this year. And I think continuing the mantra that 2016 really does suck. There's been several losses over the last couple of days. First of all, let's start off with one that was just very tragic. I mean, all of these are tragic, but this one was just a complete shock. And such a young man, the death of Jose Fernandez, who, a lot of people look. He's a player that came out of nowhere, burst on the scene, took the league by storm, and yet you don't feel like his talent was appreciated enough because he played in Miami. We all know the Marlins have struggled for a couple years here. And until the last maybe year or so, until around the time Giancarlo Stanton's whole contract thing played out, really nobody paid much attention. And then they started to, and then Miami started turning around. This year they were in the playoff hunt until late in the season. And I think people were just starting to get an appreciation for Jose Fernandez's talent. He had the surgery, the elbow surgery, and he just kind of took the league by storm. Won Rookie of the Year in 2013. Just a tremendous talent. I've heard a lot of people discussing his talent over the last couple of days, and finally, I think watching footage of him pitching and realizing just how good he was, and still how good he could be. Compared to Dwight Gooden oftentimes for the way he pitched. Electric stuff. But, the thing that I think you've heard a lot over the last 2 days was how good of a person he was, how good of a teammate he was. There's not a bad thing anybody ever had to say about him. He was a joyous young man. Everybody loved playing with him. Everybody loved being around him. He was a Cuban icon. His girlfriend just announced she was pregnant last week, and then he dies in a boating accident with two other people on Saturday. And I was shocked. I remember going on my phone and looking at this and go, wait, are we talking about the same Jose Fernandez? Because I literally was talking to some of our fans on Saturday night about Jose Fernandez, about his future and where you could see him going, and free agency in a couple years where he was expected to get a huge contract and potentially be the highest paid pitcher in the league, in the game. We were having many discussions of that and just talking about his general future. And the next day you find this out. It's a horrible tragedy for Jose and everybody that perished in this horrible accident. It's to be that young, 24 years old. I mean, it's tragic any way you look at it, but Marlins did the baseball, and the Marlins did lovely tributes over the last couple of days. Yesterday, you probably seen the clips of Dee Gordon hitting the home run, everything that was done on the field, and it just, you couldn't help but get emotionally affected by that. It was just a wonderful tribute, and he will not be forgotten. His teammates won't forget him. Nobody will forget him. He was just taken way, way, way too soon. And obviously, we want to express our condolences and thoughts and prayers to his family, to his fans, and to the other two victims in this accident, and their families and loved ones as well, because that can't be stressed enough either. just a horrible, horrible tragedy. Mike, do you have anything to add?
I didn't really know his career because I don't care about baseball that much.
Right.
I was aware of a GIF or GIF. You say it. I say GIF.
Right.
Of a Colorado Rockies hitter. I don't know what his name is either. Hitting a ball. All of a sudden, it's Fernandez. Ball out of midair.
Mm-hmm.
And the hitter stops and just mouths, "Did you catch that?" Yeah, I did. And the guy just had the confounded look on his face. 24 years old. Of an accident. It's awful. It's an awful tragedy, awful loss for the Cuban community. It's an awful loss for his family and friends. It's an awful loss for the Miami area, the Miami Marlins, baseball. That bump, but that's neither here nor there. Because I'm looking at a bump on my wrist. I'm like, that wasn't there before. This morning or this afternoon. So it's weird. Anyways, but I feel really bad because the kid had his whole career in front of him. He had he was a phenom. He was primed to be the best pitcher in the sport. And yes, it's a huge loss for baseball, but it's even more personal loss for his family, his friends, his fiance, and everybody who knew him. Because by all accounts,
Yes,
he was a good egg in an area, sports, where we need good eggs.
yes.
He was a good person.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a huge loss for baseball. He's a huge loss for Miami, and of course for his family and friends. We offer sincere condolences. But 24 years old, and you can't comprehend it. You can't comprehend it.
Okay, I think did we lose your mic? I think we lost your sound.
You did.
Okay,
because
there you
I'm
go.
blowing my nose.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, sorry. Well, I just it went quiet real quick, so I didn't know what was going on. And then there was another loss, and of an icon, and we've had a lot of those this year. Arnold Palmer, who passed away at the age of 87. You think golf, you think of Arnold Palmer. It's that simple. You think about his legacy. You think about, the golf courses around this country, around the world. You think about every player in professional golf wanted to emulate Arnold Palmer. Every player in professional golf wanted to know Arnold Palmer, wanted to pick his brain, wanted to follow suit, wanted to follow in his footsteps and be what he was. It wasn't so much about the tournament wins with Arnold as much as it was the impact he had on the sport. And he had a tremendous impact on the sport. It can't be understated what he was able to do in the sport. If you've been watching the coverage of his passing, you know that this is something that a lot of people have feared over the last couple of years. He showed up at the Open Championship last year, and a lot of people became worried about, okay, maybe there's something going on with his health. He was at Augusta in April, again, same thing. So, you always in the back of your mind, if you thought about Arnold Palmer, like, all right, that doesn't make it any easier. It does not make it any easier. It's a sad tragedy. It's a horrible tragedy to lose. And we've lost so many icons this year. Muhammad Ali, Gordie Howe, Pat Summitt. I could go on and on. I mean, so many icons of sports, entertainment, the world. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And Arnold Palmer's another one. And to his family, friends, loved ones, we express our condolences, our thoughts, and prayers. It's just I don't think it can be understated. We've lost so much in 2016 as far as beloved figures and celebrities, and I mean, it's been a tragic year. And I mean, you're starting to run out of ways to talk about it at this point. I mean, it's just, Mike, you want to add anything?
Again, this isn't a sport that I particularly give a shit about, but Arnold Palmer was an icon of sport.
Mm-hmm.
He was. Arnold Palmer is to what Arnold Palmer is to golf. Muhammad Ali was to boxing. Michael Jordan was to basketball, or Larry Bird, or Magic Johnson. What Joe Montana was to football.
Right.
Arnold Palmer was that to golf. Mixes. Because having an Arnold Palmer absolutely fantastic.
Mm.
If you don't know what an Arnold Palmer is, then what's the word? Uncultured heathen. That's the word. Arnold Palmer is a legend of golf. Even though there are going to be guys who pass the record, what he did for golf,
mm-hmm.
unparalleled. He was a legend among legends. He was the king of golf. Won everything there was to win. Every golfer up and coming for years and years and years, all they want to do is pick his brain, get to know him. They wanted to hear his stories, trust his friendship, and you hear the greatest golfers of the current era, and a lot of the up and coming golfers of the next era, and of the golfers of the previous era. They all love Arnold Palmer. Palmer took his time out. He achieved greatness, and then he was the guy who turned back and helped the next generation move forward.
Yes.
And you always love when people do that. But Arnold Palmer, and when it comes to golf, there's no bigger name for family and friends and fans and everybody around, because Arnold Palmer, it was one of the most beloved people in sport.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
We're losing too many of the good ones. Now, so he lived a very long, very productive life. And other than that,
hey, it's been that kind of year. It really has. It's a sad year.
2016 sucks ass.
It really does. You're heading into October. I don't think it can end soon enough. Really, it's just been a horrible year, and pretty much because of all the tragic deaths that we've had. All right, so we will move on. There's other things to get to, although again not as important as these things that we just discussed. But we do move on, and we will start off. We'll jump into. Let me just briefly touch on this real quick, because some of our fans did want me to do this, and I'll just do it really quickly before I forget to do it. And I don't want to forget to do it, because then that will anger some of you, and that's not good. So let's not do that. There was a significant golf tournament over the weekend. Not that many many people would be aware of that. But there was a significant golf tournament over the weekend. And, again, a lot of people this year haven't really been following, and that's okay. But you had, I think I lost. Okay. Yep. Okay. So you had, I apologize. I'm trying to figure this out here. No, see, I'm not noticing the story that I'm looking for here is not coming up. Hang on just a second, because there was something I wanted to quote and I can't pull it up. So just give me 1 second to get this up. Hang on just a second here, folks. That's not what I was looking for. All right, so in other words, I was right because oh, right here, tour championship. Okay, so over the weekend we had the tour championship, which Rory McIlroy won, thereby giving him the FedEx Cup championship. Look, it wasn't much of a tournament. Okay, really, it wasn't. Rory had it pretty much. I mean, it wasn't something that a lot of people. Now, next thing up is the Ryder Cup, and there's some things there, but I'm not going to talk about them. McIlroy was 3 shots behind with 3 holes to play Sunday. He got back into it, finished up. Dustin Johnson kind of fell off, which surprised everybody. But this year in golf, okay, and I think this tournament really was emblematic of golf this year. You really never had that story. We had Jordan Spieth last year. A couple years ago, you had Phil Mickelson. There wasn't a dominant story. It was kind of like one of those years where not everybody played every tournament. Guys fell off the pace, kind of jumped up, jumped down. It was one of those years, and this tournament was very emblematic of that. And yet Rory McIlroy in a year like this wins it. And Rory's a guy that kind of, as Jordan Spieth rose to the top last year, Rory fell off. He was the heir apparent in a lot of ways. Now, we talked about your Jordan is different than American star. Rory's more international. But still, Rory had that. The PGA was on McIlroy's back as a young superstar. That's where it was going. And then McIlroy went through a couple of bumps along the way, and then it allowed Jordan it left him vulnerable a little bit for a guy like Jordan Spieth to come out of nowhere and take the sport by storm. And then this year, Jordan had some growing pains, which is going to happen. He's a human. He's not Tiger in his prime, as we all are seeing now. And it kind of ended up being a kind of up and down year. But in the end, McIlroy pulls out. And the significance of this is important because it gives you hope. Because, see, you don't just want one star. You don't want just one star in a sport. Yeah, you want one star that you can kind of hang your hat on. But you want other stars there, too, because you want rivalries. You want competitive nature. You want that. So if Rory McIlroy, this might be a sign that Rory McIlroy is getting back on track. And if that is the case, then that's good for the game. It's a huge win for his career. It's a huge win for the PGA because it gives you the sense that McIlroy can get back into this. You can build around McIlroy. You can build around Spieth and get a couple of these other guys in there. And then you have yourself a core that you have for the next 10 years or so. And that's very, very, very important for golf, for the PGA. Incredibly important. So this was, going into, we didn't even preview it last week because I didn't think it was going to be a significant tournament. None of these tournaments this year have been significant because they've been kind of up and down. Nobody's had consistent, at least in my opinion, the play has not been consistent. You haven't had anybody kind of have like a really dominant year in my mind. But you come out of it with some significance in McIlroy winning, and for the game, for PGA, it's pretty big. It's pretty big. At the start of the month, he had not won all year on the PGA Tour. He won the Deutsche Bank Championship 3 weeks ago, and then, Dustin Johnson falls off in the FedEx Cup standings. McIlroy wins this tournament and then wins the FedEx Cup. It's huge for him, huge, and huge for the PGA, and it's significant. We'll see if McIlroy can build on this next year, and if PGA can take this, and maybe Spieth has a nice real resurgence, and then you got a storyline for next year. McIlroy, Spieth, you have a storyline. You can't rely on Tiger and what his redemption, because I don't know if that's going to ever happen. They've been waiting for that for a few years now. I don't really anticipate that happening anytime soon. So, it is what it is. I don't think I'm going to throw the mic on a golf story because I know he's not going to know what the heck's going on.
It's not so much that I don't know what's going on. It's also that I don't care.
That was a much more PC answer than I thought you were going to give. So
Really? Did you want me to go further in depth to how much I don't care?
no, please don't. We can save a
Well,
lot
I
of time
thought.
that way.
You're welcome.
All right, so from golf we go to baseball, and we are now in the last week of the regular season. A lot of these races are starting to solve themselves a little bit here, as some teams have dropped completely off the pace. The Red Sox can clinch tonight with the win at the Yankees. The Yankees are up 6-4. They're not really letting them want. They're trying to hang on here and prevent the Red Sox from clinching at their expense. Although keep in mind, the Red Sox can clinch this thing even without a win, if depending on what happens with Toronto and Baltimore and other things. So my dog apparently disagrees with me or agrees with me. I can't really tell.
I don't know, but the dog is making the baseball commentary interesting.
Yeah, you would think that, but yeah.
I just said it. So
yeah, you would think that way. So, you got the Red Sox potentially trying to clinch, and if they don't clinch tonight, they're going to clinch. That's not even going to be a situation of. So here's where you're at right now with these standings. The Red Sox have clinched the playoff berth. Cleveland has clinched the division. Texas has clinched the division. That's in the AL as far as clinching goes. Washington has clinched their division. Cubs have clinched their division plus number one seed. And the Dodgers have clinched their division. So the majority of these division races are done. The Red Sox will more than likely do that either tonight or tomorrow. So the division races are pretty much done as they currently stand. Now, as you look, what we have left to solve is the wild card picture, and even that has opened up a little bit here over the last week. Toronto is up a game for the top card spot over the Orioles. The Orioles have a 2-game lead on the Tigers, who have dropped back, and the Mariners, who have also dropped back. The Astros are 3.5 out, Yankees 5, Royals are 6 out. So you do the math. We're sitting here on Tuesday. You have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 games left. Toronto is a couple games away. I think their matchup is like 3 to clinch. Baltimore, I think, is 4. So these races are, as far as the AL goes, it looks like you're going to have Toronto in at least one of those wild card spots, and bearing an unforeseen collapse, Baltimore in that second spot. So it's going to be an all AL East wild card matchup, more than likely, to play itself out with 3 teams from the AL East making the playoffs. And then in the National League, you got the Mets up by a half game for the top wild card spot on the Giants, and then the Cardinals are a game back of the second wild card spot, with Miami 4 back and Pittsburgh 5 back. At this point, you like the Mets' chances to make it with one of those spots, and then it's a crapshoot between the Giants and Cardinals, which is what we've been saying for the last 2 weeks. Right now, Giants are clinging. They're really clinging to this because they've had such a bad second half. When in doubt, both these teams have equal experience in the playoffs, so you can't give the experience edge to anybody. I still trust the Cardinals a little bit more at this point. I trust the Giants pitching more, but I trust the Cardinals offense more. So it's kind of but I guess I'd go with the Cardinals at this point. I think the Mets are going to make it, which is a miracle given where they were a month ago. Here's where you're at right now tonight. Top of the 8th, 6-4 Yankees over Boston right now. Toronto leads Baltimore 5-1. Detroit leads Cleveland 9-0. That's in the top of the 8th. The Baltimore-Toronto games, and they're going into the 9th right now. Mets lead the Marlins 4-1, top of the 8th. We're only tracking games that really matter at this point. Seattle beating Houston 4-2, bottom of the 5th. Cincinnati leading St. Louis in the bottom of the 4th, 2-1. Later on tonight, some games of magnitude here. From a seeding standpoint, I suppose Dodgers San Diego matters. That comes up at 10:10. Colorado San Francisco at 10:15 tonight. And some of these games again matter for seeding purposes. Texas losing to Milwaukee 4-3 right now. As I mentioned, Cleveland's losing 2 to Detroit. let's see, Washington's beating Arizona 4-2 right now. So those games matter for seeding more than anything else. So you got to follow them. Right now, as I said, the Cubs are the #1 seed in the NL. That has gotten locked up. That's done. They're already at 100 wins. No problem there. For them anyway. Right now, realistically, if you're really looking at it, as far as the National League goes, the Nationals National only have a game lead on the Dodgers, so that's going to be a close race. So we'll see who gets the 2 seed between those, and then whoever doesn't obviously get the 3. That's in the NL. In the AL right now, it's going to be a close race for that #1 spot. Cleveland has 91 wins. Texas and Boston both with 92. So that one's going to come down to the wire as well. Right now, I think I'd favor the hottest team, and that'd be Boston, because they're just not losing right now. Losing tonight, but they're. And then you look at it, and here's a fun thing. You look at the teams that are likely to make the playoffs. We know Boston, Cleveland, and Texas will be there out of the AL. It's looking like Baltimore and Toronto as the wild cards. Obviously, one of those teams will advance. And in the NL, you're looking at Washington, Chicago, and LA, and then probably the Mets, and then either the Cardinals or the Giants. So a lot of premier brands in there, especially on the NL side of things. But, you talk about just been a lot of significant injuries. Cleveland obviously suffered a loss for Carrasco. A lot of people are falling off their bandwagon a little bit. You talk about the Blue Jays. They lost Benoit in that brawl with the Yankees last night. Tore his calf in that fight. Steven Strasburg is unlikely for the NLDS. So there's Ramos is injured for the Nats as well. So some injuries. There is a possibility, if you really look at these and look at the potential matchups in the first round and everything else, there is a very real possibility you're going to get the Cubs and the Red Sox in the World Series. Yeah, was waiting for that. As much as it pains me to say that, but Cleveland just lost their second best pitcher, so a lot of people are falling off that bandwagon. But that Cubs Red Sox series is maybe 12 years too late, but it'll still get a number. It'll still be a good series. And nothing like the Cubs having to go through the last team to break a significant curse, to break their own curse. So,
The other Chicago team? They were the last one to break a curse.
Oh, that's true. The Cubs, the White Sox did break a curse. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, I would say the big significant curse, yes. Yeah, it's that bigger significant curse, I would say. But anyway. Yeah, there wasn't no disrespect to White Sox fans, but there wasn't as many people that cared about the White Sox winning as the Red Sox. So,
but
yeah.
What did I say last night? What did I say last night about this show that was going to happen? Oh no, probably not.
You said a lot of things last night. I'm really trying to remember.
Who did I say would make an appearance last night?
Justin.
Hey, can you pick up that phone? Because I fucking called it.
He did call it. He said he'd make an appearance. So.
And you guys said no. So, answer that shit, please. Answer that phone. Ring, ring, ring. It's all I've said since the in memoriam segment. So I had to say something.
Well, hey, that was fair. I was kind of waiting for you to say something regarding that. But yeah, so look, right now we're looking at a very high likelihood that it's Cubs and Red Sox in the World Series. And at this point, let me just say this right now. If the Red Sox don't get there, the Red Sox don't get there. Because they got a lot of young players. They're going to be in this thing for years to come. For the Cubs, if the Cubs don't get to the World Series this year, the way that they played with 100 wins, okay, they're the only team that's going to have 100 wins. They've been completely dominant from start to finish. They've been the most dominant team in baseball from April till now. If they don't get there this year, then there's something wrong, and they're never going to get there. There really is no excuse for the Cubs not to get to this World Series this year. There really isn't. Oh, God. Sorry about that, folks. Just realized I had something on the floor here. Kind of a stutter there. Stutter to myself, anyway. But yeah, if they don't get there, they have nobody to blame but themselves. I mean, seriously, nobody in the NL has been better than them. Nobody's even close to being as good as them. And you look at the talent level for any of those teams on the NL side, there is nobody that should beat the Cubs. Now, you get the Cubs versus the Red Sox. We'll see. But realistically, there's no reason they shouldn't get there. There really isn't. And if they get there, they better win it. Because unlike what most teams say, like, you know what, we built a young team, we got chances, we can get there. The Cubs say that every single time that they get close and they bow out. You can't sit there and act like you can get there again. Don't play that game. You get there. Don't put your fans through it. Just win the damn thing. Don't go that it was a good season just getting here, because that ain't going to fly.
Not with the Cubs.
They've been through enough.
That's not how it works.
They've been through enough. I mean, just like with the Red Sox, when they finally beat the Yankees and got there, you better win it, because you don't want to. You don't want to tease. Not when your fans have been through that much. So we'll see. It should be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting October. I mean, look, there's a lot of premier brand name teams in here on both sides of the league. It's going to be a fun postseason. The season itself has been a lot more fun. There's more offense now, thank God. They're starting to bail on the sabermetrics thing. So, it's starting to get interesting again, which is a good thing for the league. And when you have teams like the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Mets and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and that, it's more interesting. You could have a couple of new teams in there. You get a couple of those other teams in there, yeah, that's fine. Like Kansas City last year and all. If you get those teams in there, it's fine. It's a breath of fresh air. But you need to have some of these brand name teams in there, because that's when it makes it interesting. You want some Goliaths to be beaten by the Davids. You do need that. Makes it.
Or alternatively, you want the Goliaths to fucking kick ass, because the Goliaths bring in ratings. Or if you support the Goliaths, Brian, you want to see them win. Very true. Being said, you want Goliath.
You do want Goliath.
Goliath.
You do need Goliath.
Goliath is love. Goliath. Yes. Over 100 years to win a fucking World Series.
So it's time for Goliath to do it.
Yeah, it's time for Goliath to get off his ass and fucking win a World Series.
Yes. I mean, I know there was a lot of people.
I've been dropping F-bombs too much tonight. I'm sorry.
I mean, I know that there was a lot of people that, wanted to see Cleveland and Cleveland versus the Cubs, because, both teams have really had a long drought. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the loss of Carrasco is too much for Cleveland. I really do. But we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out, how this last week of the regular season pans out. Obviously, there are some still significant things going on, like batting titles and everything. David Ortiz's goodbye. All of that stuff is huge. So there's stuff going on this week, and then obviously next week we start October's magic moments and all the stuff that the playoffs will bring. And October always brings a lot of fun, because it's the only month of the year where all four major sports, are in play. As the NBA gets underway late in October, the NFL's in play, MLB's in play, hockey starts, so it's a big month. All right, so we talked baseball, we talked a little golf, we move on from sports, and we jump to wrestling, which featured a pay-per-view on Sunday. That was a little divisive. Some people liked it, some people hated it, A lot of people didn't like some of the ways the matches ended, particularly the main event. Which, look, folks, if you went into that pay-per-view, okay, thinking that main event wasn't going to have overbooked nonsense to it, I don't know what you were looking for. You knew they were going to do that. They're probably going to do it again at Hell in a Cell. It's just the way it is, all right? You got an authority angle involved. You have the champion having his best friend there to interfere. What did you think was going to happen? Certainly you didn't think Kevin Owens was going to pin Seth Rollins clean. Right in the middle of a
I was hoping for it.
Well, yeah, but not in the middle of a transitional face turn. So you knew that wasn't going to happen. So if you really went into this thinking you're going to have all these clean finishes, and I don't know what to tell you. There was things of significance. You had a Divas match that was a women's match that was pretty good. The Roman Reigns Rusev match for what it was pretty good. Roman won the title, so everybody can kind of back off, worried about him getting back into the world title picture anytime soon. The only thing you got to worry about is what happens to Rusev, I would think. Sami Zayn Jericho was great. Now a lot of people are upset about the way that the finish. Well, if Chris Jericho's rumored to be in the world title picture this month. If he's going to be in the world title match, you can't have him lose there. You can't. You need to believe that Jericho has a chance at winning. So Jericho's going to go over there. You can give Sami Zayn a win over Jericho another month. After Jericho gets out of the world title hunt, you can put him in with Sami Zayn again and get a win. It's not the end of the world. The only thing that I thought to me was a horrible, horrible decision. Okay, now I've gone on record on this show saying that I didn't want the club to touch the tag team titles until they fixed their booking and got away from the stupid, childish gimmicks and all that they're trying to do to make them more entertaining. And literally, in the beginning of that match, the first 10 minutes of that match, they did it. And if they had just kept that up for 10 minutes and then put the titles on them and then continued that direction for the length of their run as champions, we would have had something. Instead, they chose to have usual New Day nonsense. I like the New Day, but it was nonsense. And then had the face tag team essentially cheat to win, implying that they cannot beat the club without cheating. But I suppose they somewhat rectified that last night, but still. Look, if you hadn't done what you did in that match with the club, I would have agreed with the decision to keep it on New Day. But you showed that you were booking them the right way again in that match. Bailing on it and not giving them that result was a horrible decision. So I disagree with that. And then you got the Sheamus Cesaro match, which was awesome. And obviously some people quibble with the finish. I think there's a lot going on there. There was injury concern there. There was a lot of things. In the end, they kept them both strong. In the end, they're making some kind of story out of it. Now you have Cesaro talking to Daniel Bryan on Twitter about his contract. So they're playing some things off. I'll keep an open mind about it. It was a good match. Both came out looking strong there, so I don't really have too much of an issue with it. All in all, I thought it wasn't bad, especially the ending with Owens and Jericho doing their thing. Mike, what were your thoughts on the Clash of the Champions?
You know what? I liked it better than a lot of people apparently liked it.
Right.
That's the thing. I think people had higher expectations for this one. AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose main eventing Backlash. I think there were higher expectations for Clash of Champions because we had Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins draws. You had Roman Reigns versus Rusev. You had the Charlotte Bayley Sasha triple threat. I think the expectations were higher.
Right.
And that being said, I think they didn't match the expectations. I think I put into the anticipation I put into it, I got a equal amount of excitement. Some finishes I didn't like. Like I am.
Yeah.
It's like for the first 10 minutes of the match, you had the club absolutely decimate the New Day. That should have been it. The New Day should have eaten the pin right there. The club should be the champions. At this point, just move the club over to SmackDown. Just get them over to SmackDown.
Yeah.
For the Usos. Literally, they could run the same story over. They literally just switch them up. But you know, the club deserves better. They really do. What else? The Cruiserweight match was good. Anyone else say it? No, I think people were expecting more flippy shit.
Mm-hmm.
We got a really solid technical wrestling match. Now, here's the thing. TJ Perkins is an outstanding wrestler. The thing that any of this charisma on the indie scene, TJ Perkins is, what they're doing right now is that, oh, I'm happy to be here. Oh, I can't believe my dream is coming true. I am so happy to be here. Who else is happy to be there? Everybody on the roster. Accomplished your dream, yes, but now is the time. Starting here, you need to start showing some fire and personality. If they do that, and Kendrick is the right opponent, he can turn heel. He's got that sense of entitlement. Brian Kendrick is the first real heel of the new Cruiserweight division. I think before you go back to Brian Kendrick, put TJ Perkins with a guy who, like Grand Metalik. You know, because that was the type of match we need to see TJ Perkins in first. Before we see him kind of wrestle Kendrick and Tony Nese, who we saw last night, or even Drew Gulak. Any technical wrestler. We need to see show some fire, show some character, and he needs to wrestle against a flippy shit wrestler. End of discussion. He needs to go up against somebody like that so we know what to expect. What they want before you can go into Brian Kendrick again, because Brian Kendrick's not going to do too much flippy shit at this point in time. And he shouldn't. He doesn't have to. He's a heel now. But the Cruiserweight match was good. I expected more of it, but enjoyed it. Match, we didn't see the ending because the network. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I didn't expect Charlotte to win, but I don't expect Charlotte to carry it very much longer anyway. I thought Sheamus versus Cesaro had the best match of the night. But they beat the hell out of each other. They stopped the match for the right reason. They salvaged the story. It was really good. He can't beat it. It was a fantastic match. It was just a fantastic kicking your ass match. It's like, wow, Sheamus and Cesaro having a good match? No way. Hey, no, Cesaro didn't carry Sheamus to anything. Sheamus is a good enough wrestler on his own to carry himself.
Very true.
So, what else happened on the show? Excuse me. Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho. Ending. could have gone either way. Yes, Jericho had to win, because he's going to be in the championship, allegedly in the championship feud soon. But they could have made that work. However, but now Sami Zayn needs to start winning a lot.
Right.
He needs to start going on a big winning streak, Sami Zayn. Eventually, when it comes time for him to wrestle for the big one, we can buy him winning it. But it was a good match. It was a really good match. Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho. It was fantastic. What else? Have I run to the main event yet?
Not really.
What did I miss?
Oh, you did. Well, you mentioned a women's match, did you? You mentioned a women's match. Okay, so Roman Rusev.
Oh, I didn't say Roman Rusev. That's the only other match. It was a good, hard-fought win. It was a good fought match. Roman winning was probably the right call. Because now Roman was pushed so hard for so long. You give him the U.S. title and say, run with it, big dog. And he's going to. The thing with Roman's going to defend it often. They're giving Roman a shot now. To get back into high life. And the match was very good. But like you, I have concerns about Rusev. I really do. I have concerns about Rusev. You got to get him through to WrestleMania somehow. Buried. Hoping for Rusev. Maybe you could try out the Big Show. And that brings me, and everything else in the show, whatever. Special shout out to Corey Graves, who was outstanding all night.
Yes.
Corey Graves was outstanding all night.
Amazing.
But Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, I had high hopes for. It did not disappoint. Yes, there was an injury. It was slightly botched. Made it look good. It was a really, really good match. Yes, the finish overbooked. Is going to be overbooked. Yes. You know what? I was one of those people who expected Jericho at some point during that match. Maybe, but you gotta build that out. So, and you need Jericho involved in the program right now, anyway. So, the fact that it was Jericho made sense. It was great. Those two, and we're going to talk about the highlight reel on Raw. Those two were outstanding. They're gold together, and I cannot wait to see that movie. And God, I was so happy Kevin Owens won that match last night. I really was. Kevin Owens, everybody. He needs more clean wins. He's more clean. But he couldn't have gotten it now, but eventually he's going to need one or two.
Yeah.
And you can't just say, oh, well, that's why he's West Wing Queen Chris Jericho. Just meeting against Jericho.
Well, I think that was their big thing last night, was putting him on, doing the whole thing because they knew that Rollins couldn't do anything, so they gave Owens a win on Raw with Queen. I mean, that was nice they did that, but they need to do that.
It was over Enzo Amore. I like Enzo Amore. He needs main singles wins against main event talent.
They don't have a lot of that. I mean, the only guys that they really would do that with is Rollins and Reigns, and they ain't going to do that with them. So,
I think you could probably get away with having Owens beat Reigns once, clean, at some point.
Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. But
I will hope for it. Continue to hope for it.
Yeah, you should. We'd all love that, but All right, so it was a fairly. I mean, look, I know you and me are probably in the minority. We actually enjoyed it. I think a lot of ways too. You know, all the people that are complaining about it are the same people that praised Backlash. Like, oh, it's SmackDown. You know, this whole thing about SmackDown being better than Raw. Look, SmackDown has been better than Raw, but I think people are being a little too hard on it too. It does have.
I think Well, yeah, I have to disagree. I think SmackDown's been doing something better than Raw.
Well, yeah, I'm talking more about the perception that people have been pushing, which is that outside of like maybe 3 or 4 episodes, SmackDown has kicked Raw's ass. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? If you take, let me be honest with you. If you gave SmackDown another hour, they'd be in the same position as Raw. The reason why Raw seems worse is because they do have these gaps in time, these lulls in the show where you just get bored out of your mind because it's filler. If you took that filler out and you had two, if Raw was 2 hours, the same as SmackDown, I bet you it'd be a lot better too. But they're not going to do that. So just get used to it. It's just the way it is. To be honest with you, they both have had their good weeks and their bad weeks. There's been a few weeks where SmackDown was absolutely amazing, and there's been a few weeks where Raw has been absolutely amazing. That's just and that's what it should be. You're going to have ebbs and flows based on what you're doing and what's going on. Now, last night's Raw was an example of that. Now, there were some good things that they did that played off the momentum of Clash of the Champions. The Roman Rusev stuff, the stuff with the Women's Championship. Owens and Rollins has turned into a very hot feud. The way that they presented it last night was a good thing. Having Rollins do what he did, get taken out, and then the spotlight was on Owens all night last night. And I really think the way that they're building this is really good because I think by keeping Triple H out of this as long as they are, it's not overshadowing Kevin Owens. And that was a concern a lot of people had when he won the title the way he did was, oh, it's going to be all about Triple H. Triple H is nowhere to be found.
Unlike a cat.
Yes. Yeah, that was pretty funny. That scared the crap out of me. But no, Triple H was nowhere to be found. And it looks like he's not going to be for a while. And that's because the original plan was they weren't going to even bother hinting at the feud until after Survivor Series. They did what they did when they did it to kind of get the title to Owens. And to start setting Seth Rollins up as a face. And I think they're doing a good job of that. I think I really like the way that they're presenting it because they recognize they have to keep the spotlight on Owens. They're not having Owens being a member of the Authority. They're just having the Authority go, we'd rather have Owens than Rollins. And it's keeping Owens, making this about him. And it's not like the Randy Orton push a couple years ago, which was all about the Authority. And it's not like the Seth Rollins push, which a lot of times was more about the Authority. So I like the way they presented it. And I think they presented it very well last night. Jericho and Owens were hilarious last night. And the main event was good. Now, it wasn't the best Raw last night, but here's the thing. I think they had a bigger show plan, and then they decided, why are we going to bother? The debate's on. Football's on. Where are we going with this? 80 million people are watching the debate. Whoever's not watching the debate is probably watching football. Don't put too much on a night when you know the audience isn't there. You're not going to get that audience no matter what you do. So you wait it out, and you do if you have any big things planned, you wait till next week. Which is why you noted this, Mike, last night. They planned some big things out for next week. Yep. And I think that was the smart way to handle it. And there was movement last night. They set up a couple matches. There was movement. But
they set up a couple storylines. The Cesaro-Sheamus thing continues as the tag team.
Right.
So that was the big thing, I guess. I mean, other than Owens and Jericho continuing to be gold.
Yep.
Charlotte and Sasha. It was Charlotte and Sasha. That was the only other thing really on the show, so much. even on the show. Braun Strowman wasn't on the show. And you actually had 2 cruiserweight matches, which was smart. Smart to have Lince Dorado and Cedric Alexander, which Rich Swann, who are going to be the dark horses of the division. They are going to be the ones that you're going to be like rooting for and pushing hard for. Especially Rich Swann.
Yeah, the cruiserweights was a highlight as well, and again, every time the cruiserweights get in the ring, there's a special ambiance with the purple lighting and everything. They're doing a good job with that too. It wasn't a great show last night, but it was a show that, despite, usually when you get these shows where they essentially look at them as a throwaway, you don't get any movement. And it's just pure filler. And that's not what last night was. You did have movement. There was some filler, no more than usual. And they did enough to justify you watching. Mm-hmm. And they saved some of their big cards for next week. I think it was smart. And I think that...
and Owens did the Enzo dance twice.
Which was epic, yes. Yes.
You have to watch that. If you didn't see it, go watch it.
All in all, it was solid, and that's really all. Look, if you can do at least a solid show every week, that's all you can hope for. Now, again, we might be in the minority because a lot of people hated Raw and a lot of people hated Clash of the Champions. But hey, now there's another thing that might happen that a lot of people hate, and that is the purchasing of TNA by WWE, which. Look, I don't know if people have been following this, but over the last couple weeks, it did not seem like it could ever get serious. You've heard that TNA's having financial problems. You know that there's been potential buyers everywhere from Sinclair Broadcasting to Billy Corgan, and it looked like Corgan was going to be the guy. Yes, it looked like he was going to be the guy. And then something fell through. I don't know what it is. There's been talk that some of the old guard is undermining him. Here's a situation that Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer and a number of other dirt sheet reporters are mentioning or reporting. TNA has a pay-per-view on Sunday. I think it's their biggest one of the year, right? Bound for Glory, right? Yep. Apparently, they do not have the funding to put this event on. Despite the fact that people have ordered it and there's all this stuff going on, they do not have the funding to put this event on. As we stand here 4 days before that event, or 5 days, I should say, they don't have the funding. So essentially, it's been said that they have to make a deal before Friday or they don't see how this event can take place. Desperate times. Now, it was mentioned last week that WWE had made an offer, a bid, and they were respectfully declined. Now, there is word that there is an interest, with some sources saying that they are the most viable option to purchase TNA right now. Apparently, WWE is interested in their library, is interested in some of the talents. Maybe not all the talents, but some of them. What talents they do decide to keep, they would disperse amongst their 3 brands, including NXT. How awkward would that be for Cody and Sandow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Drew Galloway and the Hardys. And
Bobby.
Abyss, who's never wanted to go to WWE, by the way.
Right. Bobby Lashley.
But Bobby Lashley, especially Bobby Lashley.
Yep.
And Tyrus / Brodus Clay and Ethan Carter III.
Mm-hmm. And the list goes on and on and on.
And Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes.
As Justin just yells out Brother Nero from the bathroom.
Oh, I knew you'd come.
I really, and of course, there's people out there. Oh, WWE's monotonizing. They've already rated the indies for all this talent. Now they're going to buy TNA. You know, we already know where this trajectory is going to go.
If TNA was going to stay in business, they should have been. They should have been. They had to have been viable.
Right.
They have been in the red for a long while now.
Right.
So they've just been kind of surviving.
For a long time.
And now, biggest pay-per-view of the year, and they can't afford to pay their talents.
Well, that's what happens when you go. You keep essentially putting a Band-Aid on a problem, but not solving the problem. Just do enough to get by, and then eventually it catches up with you, and then you go, "Oh crap! How are we going to do this?"
They had the talent to be the alternative 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Right.
They had the talent to be an alternative. And you brought in Hogan and Bischoff and all of their friends. Okay, sure. You brought in Hogan and Bischoff. Okay, Brian is left, presumably to blow his nose finally. But you had the talent to be successful. Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Eric Young, Bobby Roode. You had, and more. And you had a viable knockouts division. Who and Christian, who are yes, WWE guys, but they were willing to work with and put over the new guys. Who was actively putting over the X division.
Right.
Kevin Nash. Bischoff comes in. You have Sting, Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam. All these guys come in, and suddenly the top of the card gets clogged. Instead of trying to be an alternative to WWE and pushing these who have never really been in WWE, who are the biggest stars, instead of using the established guys to push these new guys to greater heights, that everybody already knew. They left WWE, blah, blah, blah. It's a WWE retread. Oh, look, who's booking everything? Hey, Vince Russo, you stupid son of a bitch.
Yeah.
A lot of problems here.
Well, if
you had taken the book away from Vince Russo, if you had used the established guys to build bigger stars, big alternative stars who are never in WWE, like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, specifically because they're champions now in WWE. To create a bigger brand, an alternative, then you'd probably be in a different place than you are now. I can't tell you where you'd been, but holy shit. You chose the path you were on, and you're shitting the bed. So you either go to Vince McMahon or you sell to Billy Corgan, and he has till Friday. Choose one.
A lot of people feel like right now TNA is on, according to some people, on fire. They think that it's doing really well. They think they like the direction it's going in. They think there's potential. And as you noted, that was a feeling by many a few years ago, and it got squandered. Now, look, what do I think is going to happen? I don't know. I think WWE or Billy is the only way that this is going to get done. But if it was going to get done by Billy, it would have happened by now. He's had plenty of time to get this thing together. And he was the one that everybody thought was going to pull it out a week ago. And now his back's kind of against the wall here. It's crunch time right now. And realistically, I know that the feeling is, okay, you have to get a deal done by Friday. In my opinion, you really got to get it done before Friday because you can't just make the deal on Friday and expect to turn around and try to financially pull all this out of a hat by Sunday. You really have to make a call within the next 24 to 48 hours. Give yourself at least a little bit of wiggle room. At least that's my feeling. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting 48 hours here. We might be, boy, can you imagine the reaction if they do buy it, Mike, from all the anti-WWE people? Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
TNA would be on fire, but not the positive kind.
So should we expect Triple H? Should we expect Triple H to come in on a tank for Kevin Owens next week?
I can only hope. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be pretty funny, though.
Chris Jericho, of course, is yelling about being amazing. Can we just have WWE invade TNA like WWE invaded WCW with Triple H and Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho in a tank?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Sami Zayn should probably be driving the tank. Can we have that happen? That would be phenomenal.
Justin had suggested to me earlier, and I texted him about it, that we do that they just have that they buy TNA, have Triple H run it exclusively, and bring all his guys over, and be left alone creatively.
Suddenly, TNA turns into the hottest thing in pro wrestling, and nobody knows why.
Yep.
No, I wouldn't say, this guy's wrestling wise. I'm talking about like his.
Oh, you want to leave all the talent there and just have Triple H handle it. Okay.
Have his backstage guys. Have the artists.
You want Triple H to handle Brother Nero?
Brother Nero!
You just let him do his own thing, and you just don't show it on air. You record it with a camera that's not loaded, and you just.
You really want to task Triple H with trying to give Bobby Lashley's wrestling character a personality?
If anyone needs to do it, it's Triple H.
Huh? What'd you say?
I don't know. It's right here, Justin.
Oh. I mean, I would rather just see a brand that's exclusively Triple H guys, personally.
Yeah, but you have to spread out the wealth, somewhere. Basically, you already have that in NXT anyways.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, we'll see. Nothing's guaranteed yet. There is no updates on it yet. We'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see if it actually goes down, or a week ago I would have said no way. But since everybody under the sun is reporting that they're probably the most viable option at this point, and they have less than 3 days to get this done, I'd say, Mike, you're right, that they better get a deal done if they want to have that event on Sunday. Or they don't stand a chance. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. I really don't think Sinclair's going to get it. I think they're completely out of it. From the sound of it, anyway. So really, I think it's either Billy or WWE. We'll see. All right, that's all the stuff that we have to cover for tonight. So we are going to start to wind down. As always, just because the show is over does not mean you have to stop interacting with our show. You continue to have your voice heard, send us your feedback, your questions, reactions, or comments to things we said on the show, topics we discuss, or anything we mention on the show. You can suggest topics and breaking news items you want us to cover, as long as they're related to sports, entertainment, and wrestling. Questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, any of those things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS5. That's our 5th anniversary on the air hashtag, which we'll only be using for a few more weeks. Or you can create your own hashtag as long as it's not disrespectful or insulting. So if we talk about football, hashtag ITSFootball. Talk about wrestling, hashtag ITSWrestling. Just don't be disrespectful or insulting. That's all we ask. Have fun with it. Just be nice, basically, is all we're saying. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our page upon finding it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to scheduling with the Football Blitz now back. Obviously, sometimes that moves around a little bit. And just generally, we sometimes have to make announcements through social media because things happen between shows. Also, we post opinions on there and all that kind of stuff. So you want to follow us on social media, make sure you're up to date on everything, and also get some thoughtful analysis too, I suppose. If you like to keep up with our show, check out old episodes. If any of those things, you can do so in a number of ways. If you're if you're a fan of streaming and seeing us on screen, and maybe perhaps you're interested in only our more recent episodes, and you want to check us out on Google Plus and YouTube, just search for In the Spotlight 411 on both sites, and you'll have access to every episode we've done on Google Plus and YouTube since mid-October of last year, all the way up until tonight's episode. All those episodes are available for you in streaming format. You can stream anytime you wish. So if you missed part of an episode, missed an episode entirely, just want to watch an episode again, you can do that. All here on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, that's only for our Google Plus and YouTube episodes. So everything from mid-October into tonight's episode. And if you're more of a fan of audio podcasting, maybe you're also interested in more of our classic episodes from way back when, then you might be interested in checking us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on both those sites. And you'll have access to every episode we've ever done since we started our show in October 2010. So everything from October 2010 to January 2011, which is everything we did on Blog Talk Radio, everything from January 2011 all the way to mid-October of last year, October of 2015, which is everything from TalkShoe.com, and everything that we've done on Google Plus and YouTube from mid-October of last year all the way up into tonight's episode. All those episodes available, transmitted into audio format for your convenience, so you can listen on the go if you wish. Every episode we've ever done in order from most recent to the oldest is available on there. So if you're interested in any of those episodes, maybe you're a longtime fan and wants to check out those classic episodes again, or a new fan who wants to check out those episodes for the first time, or you're just trying to keep up with the show and check out an episode you may have missed recently or missed part of an episode, whatever the case may be. If any of that applies to you, you can check us out. And you want to listen on the go instead of streaming, whatever the case may be, you can check us out on Podbean and iTunes, our main host site. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites, and you'll have access to every episode we've ever done on both those sites. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes, all ways to keep up with our show. Check out classic episodes and all that good stuff. Make sure you do that if you are interested or any of that applies to you. Want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
It is time for bed. I was going to say something else.
Oh, sorry.
I am sorry, too. I was going to say something a little different, but
Okay.
if you can't remember, sometimes the tried and true method always works.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin, for your cameo. Yes.
Oh, God damn it.
Yes. Yes.
You're 30.
You're the oldest, and you're still a dork too.
Yes, but I'm not dabbing, now am I?
Anyway, of course, I'm going to thank myself for a great show. Can I pat myself on the back? Is that good? No? I like that. People like that. People do like that. They do. Don't question it. I am going to change that. I'm coming up with something different. I'm getting kind of bored with it.
6 years.
It has. I know. It's pretty sad. I didn't even come up with that. The fans did. I don't know why they're so obsessed with it, to be honest. Anyway, of course, thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching, listening, in archive, we do appreciate you as well. All right, so that's it for tonight. Thursday, Entertainment Thursday, Box Office Beat, Fall TV Report continues. TV highlights, film picks, all that good stuff, entertainment news, full entertainment show on Thursday. That would be nice. We haven't done one of those in a couple of weeks. And then Friday, the Football Blitz. Right now, looking at probably 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, unless work is a calling, which could potentially push that to 3. We'll see. I'll let you know if anything changes on Thursday with that. We'll look back at last week in college football and the NFL, look ahead to this week. All that on Friday for the Football Blitz. So that's what's coming up this week. So until Thursday, hope you have a great rest of your night and a great Wednesday and a great Thursday as well. We'll see you back here broadcasting and streaming live on YouTube and Google Plus at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time this Thursday. Until then, have a good night, everybody.